Streaming on clickorlando.com, you're watching News 6 at 10 p.m.
A man from Central Florida arrested for his connection to a wildfire thousands of miles away, the latest chapter in the Palisades fire investigation.
Plus, the president announcing a possible end to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. What we are learning about the deal and when it's expected to go into effect.
And a family night out takes a horrifying twist. A father recounts the moments an Orange County restaurant ceiling collapsed on his daughter. Now at 10 tonight, thank you for joining us. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Ginger Gadsden.
Well, for days now, people in Brevard County have been dealing with beach erosion and flooding. We went to a neighborhood on the Indian River Lagoon that typically sees problems from hurricanes, but is dealing with rising water levels now, mostly from king tides. Those we talked to say they're already putting sandbags down, and more rain is on the way, threatening communities across Central Florida with flooding.
So let's get right over to meteorologist Jonathan Kagis, who is breaking it all down for us. It is a big concern with the king tides.
It is, yeah. And we're going to add the strong easterly breeze off the ocean, so we're going to have the combination. Now, that's why we have a coastal flood watch in play. So if your home or if your business has been threatened by some of the rising waters from the Atlantic Ocean, I do think it is going to get a little bit higher for the week ahead because we have that combination with the developing coastal system. I'll show you that developing system coming up in about 15 minutes. But what you need to know, again, we're watching for that potential, and if it continues to look likely, that coastal flood watch would be upgraded to a coastal flood warning, again, for the likelihood of some road closures around the coast, some beach erosion, then also the water rises on the St. Johns River. All of that is going to be related, and we're going to really increase the breeze. It's certain to get back up there again, breezy along the coast, but you see that easterly breeze to northeasterly breeze. That is going to be one of the main culprits we are watching over the next couple of days. We're going to break all of that down, guys, coming up at about 10:17.
Jonathan, thank you. Look back 9 months ago when the Palisades wildfire here ripped through Southern California. The fire burned more than 23,000 acres for more than 3 weeks. For comparison, that would be like the Villages, just totally burning to the ground. 12
people died in this, and more than 6,800 buildings, mostly homes, were destroyed. And prosecutors say the man who caused the destruction lives right here in Central Florida. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest has more from the courthouse where the suspect appeared today.
Jonathan Rinderneck appeared in a federal courtroom very briefly as the judge read the charges against him. He will be back here Thursday for a detention hearing. Let's take a look at a photo of Jonathan Rinderneck that was captured shortly after his arrest in Brevard County. Rinderneck is charged with destruction of property by means of a fire. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years. Now, federal prosecutors say Rinderneck, quote, maliciously started the Palisades fire in California, which killed a dozen people and destroyed thousands of homes. Rinderneck was living in California at the time and working as an Uber driver, prosecutors say. On New Year's Eve, authorities allege he dropped off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, who later described him as angry, and then drove to a hiking trail in the mountains. Shortly after midnight, scientific sensors in the woods detected a fire. Investigators say Rinderneck unsuccessfully tried calling 911. He allegedly told investigators he was at the bottom of the trail when he made those phone calls, but authorities say that was a lie because cell phone data allegedly put him just 30 feet away from the fire.
To know that an individual started this and committed this heinous crime, I am glad that he is arrested. So it's a step forward to justice, but people are still not back in their homes. And I won't be satisfied until every Palisadian that wants to return home returns home.
Rinderneck will spend the night in federal custody. He will be back here Thursday for a detention hearing. That's when the judge will decide whether to release him before his trial that would happen in California. Prosecutors want him to remain locked up. Reporting in downtown Orlando, Mike DeForest, News 6.
News 6 also visited the home where Jonathan Rinderneck was living at the time of his arrest. West Melbourne's police chief says they teamed up with federal ATF agents yesterday morning to conduct a traffic stop on Rinderneck. That's when he was taken into custody. We're also learning officers were called to the same house earlier this year, but it had nothing to do with the Palisades fire investigation.
News 6 will be in the courtroom for tomorrow's hearing. If we get any more updates between now and then, we'll update you on clickorlando.com.
A woman who lives in East Orange County is fighting back against the state. It's all related to a law, SB 180, aimed at speeding up the building process to recover following a hurricane. But now many think it goes too far. News 6's Orange County community correspondent Troy Campbell is in East Orange County with more.
Rachel Hillebrand says when she purchased this home in East Orange County, she was seeking the peace and quiet. Now she says she's filed this lawsuit to keep it that way. Why is it so important that this rural boundary in this master plan stays in effect?
Because it's been over, I'm probably misquoting the years, but it's been over 8 years of just pure research, and there's actual data backing up what's in this plan.
On Tuesday, Rachel Hillebrand filed this lawsuit against the state, arguing the constitutionality of SB 180. Why is it so important for you to stand up and to make sure you have this lawsuit?
Just because I can actually put a face to it. Right now, it's just been the counties and the cities and 1,000 Friends of Florida, which is great.
There's 5 defendants listed in the lawsuit, including Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson and Florida's Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngolia.
I'm standing up and saying, even if it is kind of a David and Goliath situation, I'm showing that there is actually a face to this lawsuit, and it's hurting more than just strokes on a paper.
What is your message to the state?
Just please listen and realize that the way this was done wasn't right.
This comes after 24 city and county governments filed their own lawsuits against the state over SB 180. Orange County, Windermere, Deltona, and Edgewater are all listed in that lawsuit. The lead litigation attorney for the suit says the legislation was aimed at speeding up the process for building following a hurricane, but instead says it's gone too far. What's your message to the public about just the whole situation?
This is your time to really pay attention to what's happened locally. There's so many things going on in the world, and I know it's scary, but you can really make action at your local level, even though now I'm saying it's hard. But if you do show up, when we do show up, we do make change. We've seen it a lot, especially with my group, Save Orange Counties.
I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Troy Campbell, News 6.
In Seminole County, the man convicted in the 2022 shooting that killed an 18-year-old and injured 2 others will spend the rest of his life in prison. Back in November 2022, Talis Inman used an automatic rifle to fire more than 50 shots at a parked car outside a Sanford apartment complex. Last month, a jury found Inman guilty of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. He will have no chance for parole. Authorities say Inman's mother is also behind bars, serving 179 days in jail for contempt of court after she refused to testify at her son's trial, even though she had previously told investigators she identified him in surveillance video.
A local mom is recovering from cuts, head, and neck injuries tonight after the ceiling of a local restaurant, Flyers Wings and Grill, came crashing down on her and her 2-year-old daughter. News 6 reporter Jarrell Baker spoke with the family, who says she suffered several injuries to her head and neck and wants the restaurant held accountable.
Torrance Stover says that Flyers Wings and Grill in Pine Hills remaining open is neglecting what happened to his daughter, Deja Stover, when she was sent to the hospital after part of the restaurant's ceiling came crashing down on her and her 2-year-old daughter on Monday.
Her neck is hurting real bad, her back. She sustained 4 staplers in her head. Cut, laceration to her top of her head, so she's in pretty bad shape.
Stover says that his daughter needed 4 staples in her head and has returned to the hospital for treatment, and his granddaughter is traumatized.
A 2-year-old seeing something like that happen and seeing her mom knocked to the ground, crying and blood everywhere, so it definitely taken a toll on her.
Stover says that the business should be closed until repairs are complete.
I did go back in yesterday because they are reopened for business. And I just seen, they had that whole section blocked off or whatever, but the whole ceiling still look like it's in the same condition.
Stover believes the entire ceiling should be replaced.
Are you worried about anybody else, something like that happening to them?
Yes, I am. And that's why I say I will advise people not to go in there until all that gets rectified. It's not rectified, it's a Band-Aid.
I went to Flyers and saw the damage for myself and asked the manager why they're still open. In an email, managers and staff with the restaurant say that we're deeply concerned about the incident that occurred at Flyers, in which a section of the drop ceiling fell on a customer. They went on to say that we take this matter very seriously and have brought in professionals to assess and make repairs. The building has been inspected by the Orange County building inspector and was cleared to continue operating while making repairs to the damaged section. We also asked the management if that section had prior damage before the incident. We also asked Orange County and the Department of Business and Professional Regulation if they inspected Flyers. We're waiting to hear back. In Pine Hills, Jarrell Baker, News 6.
Open carry in the grocery store. Florida is now officially an open carry state, but when it comes to private property, the rules are up to property owners, including grocery stores. And as News 6's Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee discovered, Publix grocery stores are now telling customers they can carry firearms while shopping.
Open weapons just doesn't make sense.
Publix motto is "Where shopping is a pleasure." But retired fire paramedic Lieutenant David Murphy does not think it will be a pleasure seeing people walking around the grocery store with a weapon, even though it is now legal in Florida. His wife Irene agrees.
But I do have grandchildren. I would be alarmed if they saw people with a gun
In the grocery store?
Yes.
But not everyone we spoke with would be alarmed.
I mean, maybe we should all get one so we could be an even playing field.
Publix has 882 stores in Florida. Today, we contacted dozens of stores across Central Florida, even visiting a few in person.
The location at 2015 Edgewater Drive just told me yes.
Hours later, Publix sent out a statement saying it would follow state and federal law, but adding that customers are not allowed to create a threatening, erratic, or dangerous shopping experience. This adheres to Florida law, which prohibits people from carrying weapons in a, quote, rude, careless, angry, or threatening manner, not in necessary self-defense.
An armed society is a polite society. If you know everybody can defend themselves, it's like a craziness deterrent, I guess.
I'm your Osceola County community correspondent, Laverne McGee, News 6.
In Brevard County, we're now getting a look at the letter a local city sent to the governor calling for a councilman to be suspended. They say because of the councilman's social media comments about Indian immigrants, he should be suspended on the grounds of misfeasance and incompetence. Last week, Palm Bay city leaders moved forward with sending this letter to the governor to get Chandler Langevin removed. Nearly 80 people signed up to speak during that meeting, many of them Indian American residents and business owners. They called Langevin's comments offensive. Langevin says he does not plan to resign. However, he did issue an apology today. In the letter, he writes, "Therefore, let it be resolved that this letter serves as an apology to those patriotic Americans of the Hindu faith for the tone and for the absolutism of my statement, not, however, for the message being conveyed."
Now to a major update overseas. The president says Israel and Hamas have agreed on the first phase of a peace framework that will allow for the swift release of all hostages. The president calling it a historic and unprecedented event. The plan calls for the quick release of all hostages and a withdrawal of Israeli troops to a set place. An Israeli source says the hostages are expected to be released on Saturday or Sunday.
Okay. I'm just given. I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Now, the plan did not cover other issues that still need to be resolved, including disarmament of Hamas and the future governance of the Gaza Strip.
Well, if you're looking to enjoy some Disney magic, it's going to cost you even more.
Disney is raising its prices for the parks here in Orlando. Up next, the impacts on your wallet during peak park times. Just how much you will need to dish out.
Plus, is the mayor of Orange County thinking big? We asked him about his latest aspirations to run for governor as the race for 2026 heats up. A trip to the most magical place on earth is getting more and more expensive. Disney World's raising its ticket prices yet again.
That takes some of the magic out, right? For the first time ever, a one-day ticket to Walt Disney World will now set you back more than $200 during peak times, that is. Annual pass holders are feeling the pinch too. Those passes are jumping anywhere from $20 to $80. Now, these price hikes come as new attractions are in the works, including Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. Today, Disney announced the reimagined coaster is expected to open next summer. We don't know yet when the current version of the coaster will close.
You can get the latest theme park news sent right to your email. Digital journalist Haley Coombs is showing the biggest stories on our attractions. Puts it all into one newsletter for you. Sign up for the In the Loop Theme Park Scoops newsletter at clickorlando.com/newsletters.
Orange County's mayor dropped hints today about a possible run for governor during an exclusive interview with News 6. Mayor Jerry Demings told us he will make an announcement soon about the decision he's already made. The mayor already dropped hints last weekend at an Orange County Democrats gathering called Victory Blue Bash. That's where he asked Democrats to join him in what he calls the Believe campaign.
So it starts with all of us who believe that the time is now for Florida to make some changes in the trajectory that Florida is on. And so look forward to the future.
In August, Mayor Demings released a book called Believe, Faith, Truth, and the Courage to Lead. We asked the mayor when he planned to make his announcement. He declined to answer.
All right, let's check in with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, who has changes on the horizon, but we're going to have to get through some rainy days before that. Is that fair to say?
Just some of us. So I think it's going to be super split again. There's going to be some people that don't see a drop of rain over the next couple of days before our push of drier, more comfortable air. And there will be a lot of us that see several inches of rain. Drier west, wetter east. That's going to be the theme. We already had the downpours returning again to the Space Coast. You can track these downpours alongside me tonight and into tomorrow with the free News 6 weather app. There are those downpours again. We've seen a couple around Satellite Beach, pushing west of Palm Bay and Melbourne now. We have a couple of more being generated because the breeze is increasing tonight off of the Atlantic, and that's going to be the theme going forward. A lot of those fizzle out before they push to I-4. They're 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we're back into this deal again where we are dodging a few downpours on the morning commute, especially east of Orlando again. There's 8, 9 o'clock on your Thursday morning, and you see more downpours pushing on shore. These try to increase a little bit. Again, the theme mainly along into the east of I-4 and closer to us along I-95. Not immune, again, along I-75, but they will be few and far between, and they'll be quick hitting again. You're going to be mainly on the drier side over the next couple of days. There's 8 o'clock on your Thursday evening. Again, still a few downpours, drier west, dodging east. That's, again, the theme going forward. There's 11 o'clock on your Thursday night with more rain trying to increase out ahead of the next coastal system that's developing. Over the next few days, again, getting us into your Thursday, Friday, into Saturday, this pretty much sums up the story. Where you see this gray color, that's what we're hardly talking about any kind of rain falling. Doing a little more dodging in the green here, and then the focal point for some heavy rain at times Thursday and then into Friday, going to be right along the coast before we bring in dry air for everybody. Cold front inbound. This one will have a potent impact on us to bring back the cooler temperatures, the much more comfortable air really for the first time this season. Front goes down into South Florida. This does help to get a coastal storm going. So here we go at 3 o'clock. Note those arrows on your screen. That's the wind direction again, and that's one of the reasons why coastal flooding is a concern. Again, that's not brought on by rainfall. That is brought on by the higher than normal astronomical tides. And then with that push of that easterly wind off of the Atlantic kind of forcing the tide up, that coastal system gets going. It pushes up towards the Carolinas. Behind it, though, we shift the wind direction to a more northerly component, and then we bring in that drier, more comfortable air. Again, watching closely, again, the river levels, especially the St. Johns River at Astor here. You see the red marker. That means that we are back into moderate flood stage. We've been there for quite some time, and that's something that we're going to be watching over the next couple of days again as we watch that easterly breeze kind of help to push the river up a little bit more. Live look downtown Orlando with our Light Orlando delivering Hope Skycam air temperatures back to the upper 70s. Temperatures again going to stay into the upper 80s, mid to upper 80s tomorrow with rain chances at 40%. Over the next few days, we will notice those changes though. Saturday, 20% shot for a few morning showers. And then beyond that, forget about it, guys. 60s in the morning, low to mid 80s, and no humidity in the afternoon.
All right, looking good, my friend. Well, raising children can be tough, especially on the old wallet.
Up next on Dollars and Cents, the impact it's having on families and what experts say is contributing to the high cost.
Financial demands on parents are piling up as their children are increasingly relying for help with expenses, putting a strain on the bank of mom and dad. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to talk about how to help but not enable your kids. Jill, first let's talk about children. A recent survey found about 70% of parents with kids under 18 said they felt overwhelmed by their financial responsibilities, compared with around 50% of those without kids. Why do you think that is?
Housing, healthcare, and childcare. Three really big categories have made up a bigger and bigger share of spending for households. Now, if we look at childcare specifically, it's enormous. A lot of families are spending the same amount on their childcare as they are on their rent. And that is pretty astounding. You can understand how the pressures really starts to pile up.
How are parents spending money on their adult children?
You know, I think for decades we've heard that parents help their kids out with these one-time goals, and that's still the same. About 3/4 say they help out with, say, a wedding or a down payment for a home. But I think it's the next two categories that are very interesting. More than 6 in 10 parents say they are covering ongoing expenses like living costs, rent, utility, phone bills. And about half are paying for health insurance costs.
And of course, parents don't want to see their kids fail. So how can they help but not enable?
Ask yourself this: if I help my kid out, if I help pay for that wedding, will I be in any financial peril? And if the answer is you really would be worse off because of this, then please have an open and honest conversation with your adult children. Let's say you are the kind of family that can afford to help your adult children. Then you need some structure here. You're going to discuss with your kids, how long is this arrangement going to last? And let's agree to revisit the situation every 6 months. The goal is to get your kids off your payroll, to create a financially independent adult child.
Jill, thank you so much. You can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings and the CBS Evening News.
Hey, thanks for joining us. You can find all of tonight's stories plus breaking news on News 6 Plus.
It's free to download to your smart TV or streaming device. Have a great night.